So on July 17, 2024, Canon finally announced its most anticipated and long-awaited flagship model, the Canon EOS R1. I hear many of the professional photographers, videographers, cinematographers talk bad stuff about this camera. Whether this camera is a bummer or not, we are going to be finding out in this today's video. Ever since I was a child, I have been involved with the Canon ecosystem. There was this time where there was a hype about Canon picture style and this and that, and till date it's amazing. But as time changes, people change, and their preferences change as well. But I've been a Canon user ever since a child, and my first product was the Canon printer. Now the printer that I had was really amazing, and the quality that it gave is still better than today's technology, and of course they are very expensive. And over time, as I grew older, and I decided that this is what I'll be doing for the rest of my life, being a cinematographer, doing filmmaking stuff. So my first preference was to go out with Canon, because the Canon ecosystem is something that I'm really used to, and I really love to interact with that particular ecosystem. Why Canon cameras are good. Now back in the days, I'm only talking about my place over here, there were either Nikon or Canon. There was no other brand that was popular over here at my place, where I stay. Back in the day, if you had a DSLR or even a SLR camera, you were like really cool kind of a guy, if you know what I mean. So the only reason why I went out with Canon instead of Nikon was the video. So Nikon was really a potato back in the day, because the quality that Canon gave back then was far more superior than Nikon. Now, I'm not saying that Nikon was bad, but quality was good only with the higher end Nikon cameras. But at the consumer level, the quality was a potato. But with Canon, everything was like perfect. But yes, if you know me, my first camera was the Nikon Coolpix L340. That's how my career got started. If you want to know more, click over here on this video to know more. We should move on to our main topic, why Canon EOS R1 is a bummer. Now, as we all know, that Canon EOS R1 was the most anticipated and overhyped kind of a thing for us filmmakers as well as for photographers out there. As the Canon EOS R1 is the first camera in the R series, we had some bigger expectations from Canon, but the camera which Canon gave out was not as good as the fans, consumers and us professionals expected. I'm not saying that the camera is bad and unusable and no, we are not going to buy it. No, that's not the case, but we had some proper expectations from Canon. But before we start talking bad about the Canon EOS R1, let's first start out with some of its new features that the camera has. The Canon EOS R1 has 24.2 megapixel back illuminated stacked sensor. It does 40 frames per second in RAW. The best thing about the Canon EOS R1 is that it now has the digic accelerator, which helps to process those files even more quicker, and it helps to transfer the image that is captured from the sensor to the actual digic processor very fast, as a result of which also lessens the rolling shutter effect. In terms of pictures, it does 40 frames per second, which is amazing. And in terms of video features also, we have some really good features over here. It can do like 6K DCI at 60 frames per second, 50 frames per second, 29, 25, 24 and 23 frames per second, and that also in RAW or light RAW. So if you aren't familiar with RAW means you get to control everything in your post-production as well, such as ISO, white balance, etc. But when you are filming such as I am with C-Log, I can only bring in back those highlights and shadows, and I won't be able to control those ISOs, white balance, etc., etc. in the post. The other feature that this camera has is that it allows DCI recording. So if you don't know what DCI is, so let me just give you an example. If you compare 4K DCI with 4K UHD, you will see a difference in resolution. So what does 4K DCI mean? So with 4K DCI, you get to use this actual sensor size. So the actual 4K resolution is 4096 by 2160, but that's with only 4K DCI. But if we talk about 4K UHD, it's only like 3840 by 2160. That's 4K UHD, which my Canon EOS R6 Mark II does. So which is not actually true 4K, but it's just let's say it's 4K but not a true 4K, but the true 4K is the DCI format, which the R1 does provide. And the other thing that I see over here, Canon has integrated into the Canon EOS R1 is they are now putting in the Canon log 2 and 3 and other picture styles directly onto their camera as well, which Canon must do to their other camera systems as well, such as with the Canon EOS R6 Mark II. So let us talk about what has not improved with this camera. So as this is the flagship model, we expect more, because being first in the lineup, 24 megapixel is not as good as it may seem. We had a higher expectation and a higher hope from Canon that Canon is going to be integrating the global shutter over here. There were out rumors and all, but Canon did not, and they went out with the back illuminated stacked sensor, which is of 24 megapixel, which Canon, if they could have gone with the 45 megapixel which the R5 Mark II has, or even gone with higher resolution. The other thing that I have noticed with the Canon EOS R1 is the body. The body has not changed at all. So a lot, I've seen some YouTubers do a comparison saying that Canon EOS R1 is just a EOS R3 Mark II, which to some certain extent I do agree with, because there are only minor differences between the R3 and the R1. So over here, what I think Canon did, or they are doing, is that they again are going to be giving us the Canon EOS R1 Mark II in the future. There was so much hype about the Canon R1 online that they did not even do the marketing for the R5, and they just launched both cameras on the same day. Though there were rumors about the R5 Mark II as well, the R5 Mark II stands out way better than the R1, but there was more hype about the R1, so as a result of which automatically we got disappointed when we got to hear about the features that the R1 has. If you require a bigger size body and a bulky one, of course R1 is for you. But if you are someone who is like me and only requires a small kind of a setup thingy, the R5 Mark II is for you. Again, yeah, I'm pretty sure Canon is going to be releasing R1 Mark II in the near future, which will be having the features that the actual R1 must have. So I don't know what kind of business is with Canon and other camera companies as well. I guess they are just trying to make more money out of what they already have, and they are just giving 1 or 2 features more with their Mark II, 3 series kind of a camera. And again, there is a rumor that the Canon EOS R6 Mark III is on its way. I don't know when, but there is a rumor, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to be making a video about the R6 Mark III. The only thing that got to my mind when I heard about that news was, come on Canon, just give the R6 Mark II a break, because it's not even 2 years, I guess, if I'm not wrong, the Canon R6 Mark II has been out, and the Canon R5 Mark II had to wait for at least 4 years for the second model to come out. They could have integrated the cinema features into the cameras as well. But again, I will say that Canon is now trying to make those cameras high-vis kind of a cameras where the camera is good for photos as well as for videos, which is a good maneuver from Canon. But if you are someone like me who is a cinematographer, I'm only going to look for the camera which is related to cinematography and not photography, just like the C300, C200, etc., or the R5C, which is a both photocentric and a video-centric camera. So with that, I guess I'll end this video right over here. I'll see you in the next one.